All past the night, my daughter's wedding nightmare. I never imagined my life would unravel so dramatically. It started with a comfortable existence, a devoted husband, a cherished daughter, and a marriage I foolishly believed was unbreakable. I'm Paloma, and this is the shocking tale of how my world shattered, forcing me to confront a betrayal so profound it changed everything I thought I knew about family. Back then, my days were predictable, spent as an accountant at a trading company, meticulously balancing the books. My husband, Mark, a sales representative, was often away on business trips, the absences I'd grown accustomed to. Our daughter, Sarah, was a bright and energetic 15-year-old, the perfect blend of Mark's charm and my unwavering determination. We lived in a modest apartment, content in our little world. Looking back now, the cracks were there, subtle shifts in the foundation of our lives, foreshadowing the impending collapse. When are you coming back this time? I'd asked Mark, during his routine phone calls on those frequent trips. Should be home by Thursday. He'd reply, don't bother cooking anything special. That seemingly innocuous phrase should have been my first alarm bell. Lately, everything had changed, almost imperceptibly. He'd returned from his trips different, distracted, lost in thought, almost cold. Are you okay? I'd ask, my concern mounting. You seem different. He'd brush me off, claiming it was just work stress. It's nothing. I chalked it up to a midlife crisis, the cliche explanation for many his age. I told myself it was temporary, that with enough patience and understanding, everything would return to normal. Mom, he's just stressed with work, Sarah would say, echoing my own deceptive hope. Honey, I replied, believing my own like these things happen in marriage sometimes. It'll get better. I doubled down on being the perfect wife, thinking that if I just tried harder, kept the house impeccably organized, things would magically revert to their former state. But life has a cruel way of shattering our illusions when we least expect it, unveiling the horrifying truth with brutal force. I vividly remember that ordinary Tuesday evening when my world imploded. I just arrived home from work and was idly scrolling through social media when I received a message from an unknown sender. I almost dismissed it, but something compelled me to open it. Hello, Paloma. A message began. I think it's time we talk. I'm your husband's second wife. My hands trembled violently as I continued reading, each word a dagger twisting deeper into my heart. I've been seeing Mark for 3 years now. We have a beautiful son together, the child he always wanted. I'm young, beautiful, and I make him happy in ways you never could. I felt an overwhelming wave of nausea wash over me. Then came the screenshots, dozens of them, revealing the sickening truth of his feelings for me. I can't stand looking at her anymore. One message read, she's gotten so fat and ugly. Being in bed with her is like sleeping next to a log. The whole house feels suffocating. If it wasn't for Sarah, I would have left years ago. The final message from this woman felt like the ultimate, unforgivable betrayal. If you have any pride left, Paloma, he doesn't love you anymore. He hasn't for a long time. The room started spinning uncontrollably. I remember desperately trying to stand, but the last thing I heard was my phone clatter into the floor before darkness engulfed me. I awoke to Sarah's panicked face hovering above me. I was sprawled on the living room floor where I had collapsed. Mom, can you hear me? I'm fine, honey, I tried to say, my voice weak and trembling. The paramedics arrived, checking my vitals as I sat, dazed, on the couch. What happened? One of them asked. Then he saw my phone, still displaying those horrifying messages. Is it true? I whispered, my voice barely audible. He didn't even bother to deny it. His face hardened, revealing the stranger he'd become. Yes, he said flatly, devoid of any emotion. I don't love you anymore, Paloma. I haven't for a long time. I want a divorce. How could you do this to Mom? Sarah's voice shook with rage and disbelief. How could you? I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Mark muttered, avoiding eye contact. The next few weeks passed in a blur of pain and disbelief. I filed for divorce, going through the motions like a zombie, barely functioning. Sarah was my rock, choosing to stay with me despite Mark's attempts to sway her. He agreed to pay alimony without argument, probably the only decent thing he did throughout this whole ordeal. Time marched on, relentless and unforgiving. Sarah graduated from high school. Mark and I split in the cost of her college education, united in our desire for her success, even if we couldn't bear to be in the same room. She chose a college in another city, calling me regularly at first, sharing details of her classes and new life. I lived for those calls, clinging to every detail, but gradually, they became less frequent. Sorry, Mom, I'm busy right now. Can't talk, maybe next week. Each excuse felt like a punch to the gut, a constant reminder of the growing distance between us. Then, she stopped coming home altogether. Why don't you visit anymore, sweetie? I'd ask, my voice laced with longing. You know how it is, she'd reply vaguely. One evening, consumed by loneliness, I decided to check her social media page. At first, nothing seemed amiss, just typical college posts about classes and friends. Then I saw it. Among her friends was a familiar face, Mark's wife, the woman who had destroyed my marriage. My hands shaking uncontrollably, I clicked on her profile. What I saw made my blood run cold. There were dozens of photos of Sarah with Mark, his wife, and their son, portraying a picture-perfect happy family. Finally reunited. Read one caption. Complete family time. Read another. In every picture, Sarah was beaming, embracing her father and his new wife like they were one big, happy family. I felt sick to my stomach. All those excuses, all those missed visits I called her, my heart pounding in my chest. Before I could even speak, she cut me off. I was wondering when you'd find out. Why? I asked, my voice trembling. Why didn't you tell me? Because they're fun, she retorted. They're rich and interesting. Dad and Lisa take me shopping, buy me designer clothes. He just got me a new car for my birthday. What do you offer? A boring apartment and your boring life. Each word was a deliberate blow. I'm your mother, Sarah. I raised you. Yeah, well, I'm old enough to choose who I want to spend time with. Lisa gives me money whenever I need it. They take me on vacations. If you don't like it, that's your problem. Staring at my phone through tear-filled eyes, I felt the full weight of my situation. First Mark, now Sarah. They preferred a younger, prettier, richer woman over me. I curled up on my couch and sobbed, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. Desperate for someone to talk to, I remembered my father. We hadn't spoken in 15 years. Not since I had angrily dismissed his concerns about Mark. He's not right for you, Paloma, he'd warned. There's something off about him. You just don't want me to be happy. I'd shouted back. You've never supported my choices. Those were the last words he exchanged before I stormed out of his house. Now, the irony of it all was almost unbearable. Dad had been right all along. Hello. His voice was familiar, comforting. Dad, my voice cracked with emotion. It's Paloma. I was wondering if we could talk. Come over right now, he said without hesitation. I'll text you the gate code. Gate code, I wondered as I drove to my childhood home. But nothing could have prepared me for what awaited me. The modest house I grew up in had been transformed into a stunning estate, at least triple its original size. Welcome home, sweetheart. Dad, what? A lot can happen in 15 years, he said, a hint of pride in his voice. Come inside, they'll explain everything. He led me through the sprawling mansion, explaining how he had built a thriving real estate business, both residential and commercial. Turns out your old man had a knack for business after all. Then, it was my turn. I poured out my heart to him, sobbing in his arms like a little girl. I'm so sorry, Dad, I whispered. You were right about Mark. I should have listened. I forgave you long ago, sweetheart, he said, stroking my hair. I'm just glad you're home now. After that day, I started visiting Dad regularly, trying to make up for lost time. We talked about everything. One evening, as we sat on his terrace overlooking the city, he made an unexpected proposal. Come work for me, he said. I need a good accountant for my company, someone I can trust, someone who can learn the business from the ground up. Dad, I don't know anything about real estate, I protested. I'll teach you, he insisted. You're smart, Paloma. You always have been. And maybe it'll help take your mind off everything else. He was right. Immersing myself in the world of real estate was exactly what I needed. Dad started teaching me everything. Property valuation, contract negotiations, market analysis. For the first time in years, I felt truly excited about something. The numbers made sense to me. They always had. I discovered a hidden talent for the business, a knack for spotting opportunities and maximizing profits. That's how I learned she was graduating from college. There was no invitation for me to attend the ceremony. Instead, I received a brief, dismissive message. Don't come to graduation. Lisa says it would make her uncomfortable. My daughter had made her choice clear. She wanted her father's new family, not me. The photos from her graduation showed her beaming between Mark and Lisa, her half-brother perched on Mark's shoulders. A perfect family portrait complete without me. One evening, Dad invited me over for dinner. Something felt different about him. He was quieter than usual. After we finished eating, he led me to his study. Sit down, sweetheart, he said, lowering himself carefully into his leather chair. There's something I need to tell you. My heart clenched with dread at his tone. What is it? Dad, I've been sick for a while now, he said quietly. Cancer. I've been fighting it for 3 years. He shook his head slowly. The doctor said I don't have much time left. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I cried, my voice choked with emotion. Because I had work to do. He smiled sadly. I needed to prepare you to take over the business. That's why I brought you on board. I knew I needed time to teach you everything. I fell to my knees beside his chair, grabbing his hand. Dad, no, hey now. He squeezed my hand reassuringly. Don't cry, sweetheart. We got these last 3 years together. We made peace. That's all I wanted. Now I can go peacefully. I arranged the funeral myself, trying to honor him as best I could. The pain of losing him was almost unbearable. Through my grief, I sent Sarah a message. Your grandfather passed away. The funeral is on Saturday. Please come. The response was callous and dismissive. Dad says he was a nasty old man anyway. Not interested. I stared at the message in disbelief, remembering how Dad had always kept a photo of her on his desk, and now she couldn't even show basic human respect for his passing. The funeral was beautiful, a fitting tribute to a remarkable man. Sarah's absence felt like a physical wound, a gaping hole in the already fragile fabric of my life. I delivered the eulogy with all the strength I could muster, trying to hold back the tears. Afterward came the inheritance, a house I'd grown up in, his legacy passed down to me. Everything Mark and Lisa flaunted seemed insignificant in comparison. But I didn't want the mansion. I asked my assistant to add it to our rental properties portfolio. I stayed in my comfortable but modest apartment. I had it renovated exactly how I liked it, and it finally felt like home. My neighbors had become my friends over the years, a small but supportive community. The business thrived under my management, exceeding even Dad's expectations. Out of nowhere, my phone rang, Sarah's number flashing on the screen. "Mom, I'm getting married. We'll come by next week to talk about it. Jake wants to meet you." True to her word, Sarah arrived at my apartment the following week with her fiancé. I watched as she entered, glancing around dismissively. "Still the same old place," she muttered, running a finger along my coffee table. I bit my tongue, focusing instead on Jake. "So," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "tell me about the wedding plans." "We're planning something spectacular," Sarah interjected, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Only the absolute best venues in the city will do. The ceremony will be in 6 months," Jake added. "That's wonderful," I replied. "Have you found a place yet?" "We want something really special," Sarah said, clearing her throat. "Actually, Mom, weddings are expensive. If you know." "Of course," I said, cutting her off. "I'd be happy to help. I can contribute $10,000. Sarah rolled her eyes dramatically. "Well, I guess that's better than nothing. Lisa's already promised to handle my dress and the honeymoon." They didn't stay long after that. As the door closed behind them, I sank onto my couch, contemplating the irony of it all. I had inherited a successful real estate company from my father, but Sarah's attitude remained unchanged, displaying a complete lack of interest in my life. "Let's see how this plays out," I thought to myself. I waited for a wedding invitation, checking my mail every day, but nothing arrived. Finally, curiosity got the better of me, and I visited Sarah's social media page. My eyes widened in shock as I read the name of the venue she had chosen for the ceremony, the Grand Plaza, one of the most prestigious event venues in the city, and, unbeknownst to her, one of my properties. Jake and I found the most amazing venue for our wedding. Her post read, "The Grand Plaza is absolutely perfect. So elegant and exclusive. Just need to sign the rental agreement and everything will be set." I couldn't help but smile. Sarah had no idea that her poor mother on the very hall she was so excited about. A week after Sarah's visit, she showed up at my apartment alone, her expression cold and detached. "Mom, I need to tell you something," she said, standing in my living room, not bothering to sit down. "I won't be inviting you to the wedding." I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces, but I kept my face neutral. She gestured dismissively at my apartment. "The wedding will be at this gorgeous hall. Important people will be there. Jake's family, Dad's business associates, Lisa's friends." She looked me up and down, her eyes filled with disdain. "You wouldn't fit in." The cruelty of her words took my breath away. But she wasn't finished yet. "You can still send a gift," she said, heading for the door. "Money would be best. I'll text you my card details." I sat there for what felt like an eternity, trying to process what had just happened. Then I picked up my phone and made a call to my office. A week later, Jake and his parents were sitting with my property manager, ready to sign the rental agreement. Sarah was beaming, practically glowing with satisfaction. I walked into the executive office and her jaw dropped. "Mom, what are you doing here?" I smiled, settling into the leather chair behind the desk. "The Grand Plaza belongs to me, along with several other luxury venues in the city. In fact, this entire company that manages these properties is mine." Sarah started stuttering, her face contorted with disbelief. But how? Where did you get all this? Remember when I told you your grandfather had died? When I invited you to his funeral, I kept my voice level. The one you called some nasty old man. He left me everything." Sarah's eyes narrowed with greed. "Wait, if you own all this, then I'm your only heir. You have to give me the venue for free and a wedding gift. Maybe one of your properties." I couldn't help but laugh. "Actually," I said, gathering my papers, "I came here personally to deny your rental application." "You can't do that," she shrieked. I paused at the door, turning back to face her. "I suggest you find another venue," I said. "Maybe think about whether it's worth destroying relationships with people who truly love you, just because they don't seem rich or important enough." "But Mom," Sarah's screams followed me down the hallway. "You can't do this to me. I'm your daughter." I kept walking, my heels clicking against the marble floor. For the first time in years, I felt truly strong. A few weeks later, I received an elaborate wedding invitation, the kind that probably cost more than most people's weekly salary. Almost simultaneously, my phone buzzed with a message. "Mom, I'm so sorry for everything. I've been horrible to you. I've done a lot of thinking. I'm ready to cut ties with Dad and Lisa completely. We don't need them in our lives. Please come to my wedding. Please give me another chance. I sat on my couch, feeling an odd sense of déjà vu. The words were perfect. Exactly what I had longed to hear for so long. Then it hit me. This wasn't really about me at all. When I chose your father and Lisa, there was more money, more excitement, more status, so I abandoned someone who truly loved me for superficial things sound familiar. I waited, watching the three dots appear and disappear several times before her response came through. That's not fair, Mom. I really want to make things right. But I could see it clearly now. The pattern was painfully obvious and devastatingly sad. I didn't respond to her message. Instead, the wedding date came and went. I spent the day working in my office, focused on building the empire my father had entrusted to me. Sarah posted plenty of photos online on her event that wasn't quite as prestigious as the Grand Plaza. She looked beautiful in her white dress, but her smile seemed forced. Watching her life unfold from a distance, I noticed she doesn't post as many photos with Mark and Lisa anymore. I suppose the shine has worn off that relationship too. Occasionally, she still sends me messages. It's usually when she needs something and the words are perfect, but I've learned to let them sit unanswered. I haven't given up hope for reconciliation. After all, it took me 15 years to understand what I had done to my father. My dad waited patiently all those years to show me the difference between loving someone for who they are and loving them for what they can give you. Until then, I'll keep running the company Dad left me, living in my comfortable but modest apartment, leaving the door open for the day when Sarah might truly come back. So, Reddit, after hearing my story, do you think I handled the situation correctly? Was I justified in denying my daughter's rental application after she excluded me from her wedding due to perceived social status? Or should I have forgiven her and given her another chance? I'm genuinely torn and would appreciate your honest feedback and perspectives on this incredibly difficult situation, especially considering the complex history and deeply ingrained patterns of behavior within my family, as I still cannot decide if my reaction was appropriate to her exclusion or if I was petty and should have let the slight go and let her have a dream wedding at the venue she had always wanted.